The reason we installed that fresh FA20 in our FR-S track car is this boost.
That's right, in the form of a Jackson Racing Supercharger kit.
It looks a little intimidating all spread out on the floor like this.
But we're somewhat professionals, so we've got a manual that's 27 pages long, which we hope will help us get this installed.
We're gonna get it done.
Oh, and we've got an exhaust to put on as well.
This is Peter reading. He's pretty good at it, I find.
I do a good job. That's the only way we get stuff done here, is if I actually read the instructions rather than just go for it.
Free balling it.
I always free ball though, come on.
Step 1, remove the front bumper.
Step 2, take out the headlight, which I'm very slow at right now.
Only on the passenger side?
Only passenger side.
All right. Spider headlight, you're staying on the driver's side. So Pete's severe OCD meant he taped this up tighter than a nun's bedroom, and now he's having a hard time getting that headlight out of there.
But we didn't have problems of fraying wires through the old fender well, did we?
No, that's true. That's true.
So now I will take 20 minutes to remove a headlight. That should take 2.
The cost of OCD, bro.
Cost of perfection, my friend.
Jackson Racing's installation instructions are very thorough and well thought out, which takes the guesswork out of the install, and as long as you follow them to a T, it'll be a painless process. We sadly had to say goodbye to our trusty AM intake, as it would no longer be needed. The same goes for a few stock pulleys. They'd be replaced with Jackson Racing units and mounting hardware for that big old fancy Rotrex blower.
Sometimes when you're putting aftermarket performance parts on a car that already have other parts on it, you run into compatibility issues, which we've just discovered with our Racing AC Delete kit bracket. The way the Jackson Racing bracket mounts to the engine, it uses one of these mounting holes, and because Jared from Racing designed this to have sort of a nice angle here, and this Jackson Racing shim is flat, they're not compatible at the moment, so we're going to have to notch this bracket a little bit so that we match the position for this with where it would have been with the factory AC compressor in place. So unfortunately we're going to have to cut this up a little bit, but we're confident it'll still be plenty strong. So yeah, a little aluminum tuning here at the Speed Academy lab.
Some quick cutting work with the Dremel, and our Racing AC Delete bracket was ready to be fitted up. One of the critical components on this supercharger kit is obviously the belt, because it's kind of the lifeline. So if this thing fails, your supercharger is not going to be working. And we noticed that Jackson Racing uses Gates belts, and they're super good quality. So kudos to them for using a high quality product. With the belt in place, it was time to slide the Rotrex supercharger on, and that proved to be a much easier job than I anticipated. Okay. Okay.
So we're about halfway through the install now, and we have our Rotrex supercharger in place. The reason Jackson Racing uses Rotrex is it's a very efficient centrifugal supercharger, and it builds boost in a really linear manner. So it builds boost with RPM, and that really keeps the character of the FR-S intact. So it drives exactly like you would expect an FR-S to drive, just with an extra 100 horsepower. And that's exactly what we're looking for. We also know from personal experience, having used a Rotrex before, that's a really reliable system. It uses a separate oil system, so it doesn't tax the engine's oil. It's really quiet. It uses an OEM style belt system, so it should be super reliable, which is exactly what we need for an event like Ontario 1500.
Next on the to-do list was installing the Rotrex oil cooler and intercooler. It's a tidy setup that mounts the oil cooler behind the front mount. However, since we opted for Jackson Racing's engine oil cooler as well,
The mounting strategy was very similar, but it uses a lower mounting bracket that puts both oil coolers side by side. It's quite a clever and streamlined setup that doesn't take up much space, and we've been assured that even though the oil coolers are sitting behind the intercooler, they still get enough airflow to operate efficiently.
So that's the 45 and that's
The
the
90, yeah. They said 45 to go in here, but that's a 90.
I'm confused. I can't think straight. I gotta go to the washroom. I'll be right back.
How convenient. Now you've taken away our tow hook protection.
Great.
Someone's gonna stub themselves for sure. There was very little fiddling with the Jackson intercooler piping. The fit and finish on those is excellent, which meant a real quick and easy install. Not only that, but the routing for the intercooler piping is direct and doesn't interfere with any other engine components, which, in our books, is always a good thing. The Rotrex oil reservoir is situated next to the brake booster, away from any heat sources. And there's also an inline filter that keeps the oil nice and clean before it enters the Rotrex supercharger.
Time to fill up our Rotrex oil reservoir here, and I have no idea what this fluid is. It's some kind of synthetic fancy fluid. Rotrex traction fluid is what they call it. It's obviously designed to lubricate the Rotrex system, and it's cooled by an independent cooler rather than using the engine oil cooler, which we really like because that means the engine oil isn't being overtaxed by the heat being generated by the Rotrex. So it's got its whole entire separate system of oil. And we're gonna, oh, it's blue. Funky. It's actually really thin and it's blue. Freaking me out.
Once Dave got over the wonder that is the blue Rotrex fluid, we got back to business and installed the blow-off valve system, the air filter, and all the other small tubes and lines that finish the system off. Because our JDL header is a long tube header, and that means it reaches into the engine bay a bit, it's actually getting quite close to our Rotrex unit and some of the charge piping. So I dug deep into the toolbox, found some header wrap, which I'm gonna wrap the top portion of this header for better heat management. Like I mentioned, the key advantage to the header wrap is that it'll contain the radiant heat off the pipe, but it does have a few drawbacks. The main one being that it traps moisture, which can lead to accelerated oxidation and rusting of the pipe, so that's something to consider. And here's our finished product. My hands are gonna itch for days because I forgot to wear gloves. So don't make the same mistake I did.
Now that we've got the Jackson Racing Supercharger installed, we're ready to fire it up, except first we're gonna put on a new exhaust system. That's because the HKS single exit exhaust that we ran at Targa Newfoundland took a serious beating. On the drag launch starts, the exhaust was bouncing around and slamming against the underside of the car, so it's pretty badly dented up. Plus, to be honest, it's a little bit on the loud side for day-to-day street use, and we're going to be driving this car a lot for Ontario 1500. So we've gone with the AVO Turbo World 3-inch catback exhaust system, full stainless steel, laser cut flanges, a nice big muffler with 2 exits. It should quiet the system down quite a bit. They say it basically has no drone to it. So we're excited to bolt this up and fire the old FR-S up and see how she sounds with the supercharger.
This is where a hoist comes in real handy. Even though installing an exhaust system is about as simple as it gets, doing it on your back with the car only raised a few feet off the ground makes the job more tedious than it should be.
Almost ate that one. The struggle is real.
It's always real when you have literally, what is this?
8 inches, a foot most.
A foot of clearance.
Yes.
To your face in the drive shaft. Sometimes I feel like this is what death is like inside of a coffin.
You're in
it's
the
just
coffin
like this.
right now. This is fitting that you die beneath a car, Peter.
Eventually though, I managed to get everything lined up and secured, but not before Dave could have another laugh at my expense.
Oh. You having fun under there, Pete?
When do we buy a hoist?
Exactly. That's when we buy a shop with 14-foot ceilings, I think.
Maybe. You can't see anything. It looks like I'm working in my genitals.
It's exactly what it looks like. It totally looks like a creeper video.
That's so good.
Oh god, I can't even watch.
Time to light this candle, PT.
All right, initial startup, what are your thoughts? Is it gonna work, or are we gonna blow this engine up right away?
My prediction, 1 million horsepower, PT, 1 million horsepower.
I predict it starts and runs.
I think that's a safe bet. Let's give it a
Do
whirl.
this.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, clutch pedals in. Here we go. Right up, let's try. I don't know how much wider that exhaust is though. It's pretty loud.
I can't hear you!
What? I can't hear you. I mean, we're in the shop, so it's pretty hard to judge, but yeah, we'll see once we get out on the street, I guess, right? Now that the idles dropped down to 750 or so, it does seem a lot quieter in the cabin than with the old exhaust system, so I think we have made some progress back there. We gotta find some hangers though, because I can hear it kind of rattling a bit. But it looks promising as far as cruising along the highway with a quieter setup, so let's hope that that's worked out for the best.
Well, it's official. The supercharger install is done.
Complete.
Yes, indeed. And man, I'm still kind of happy and ecstatic how well it went.
Yeah, it was painless. I mean, having done a custom Rotrex install once before where I had to make brackets and figure all that out myself, this was so,
Probably triple the time, right?
oh, more than that, weeks really. And this was a day's work, and I mean, every nut and bolt and bracket is thought out. It's in a position that makes sense.
And we were shooting videos and photos, which, you know, almost doubles the time of this. So realistically, I think if you're working with a couple people that know what they're doing, this can be done in anywhere from like 6 to 8 hours.
Easy, yeah.
Easy. And what I love about it is, you know, every nut and bolt, every bracket that you need is included with the kit. So there really isn't a lot of fiddling around or trying to find, you know, parts out of the parts bin to try to make stuff fit, right?
Yeah, there's no mystery to it. It's all spelled out so well in the manual too. I mean, it's as painless an install as you're ever going to get for a forced induction kit. It really
Precisely,
is.
yeah. You know, I've done a lot of turbocharger installs,
Yeah.
and I actually think they're more difficult than putting on a supercharger kit.
No question.
Yeah. This one specifically.
Yeah,
I should say.
this is super easy. So, I guess next episode we're on the dyno.
Let's hope. We got the dyno coming. We still got graphics to do. Front splitter.
Yeah,
and
lots
then
more to come.
yeah, racetrack action.
Get to the track, start testing this bad boy, see what we can do.
Step by